each spice has got its own character.
We've all had lessons that fell flat, and we've had ones that came alive because we could smell them, taste them, and never forget them. She's been called Singapore's Spice Queen, author of more than 22 cookbooks, and a teacher who makes food unforgettable. Hello and welcome to Speak Up and Stand Out, the show where we explore how communication builds confidence and confidence transforms lives. I'm your host, Davin the Iceman, and today's theme is Teach with Taste. And joining me as always is the founder of Dare to Speak Academy, Susila Krishnasamy. Hello.
Hello, Navin.
How are
it's
you?
nice to be here. Feeling great. And I just want to add on to our guest for today. And I want to say that, when we talk about teaching, it's not just passing the information. It is highlighting the senses. And this is something our guest has done. And she has done it all her life and has made a career of it. So I'm really excited about today's episode.
Wow, I am as well because I love food.
Don't we all?
Yeah, and you can tell, right? You can tell. You all can tell, right? I love food, right? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chef Devagi Sanmugam. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very good and I'm very excited to share my experiences today.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you.
All right. So you know what? Let's start with a quick icebreaker.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if people always ask you this, but if you were to be stranded on a desert island and could only take one spice with you, what would it be?
I'll take chilies.
Chilies. Wow.
Why?
Why?
I love it. I mean, you can mix salt with salt water. For example, you said island. You can make salt from there. And then you can get sugar from some fruits. But chilies is something doesn't grow everywhere. So I think I prefer to take chilies. And it can be a dried chili or fresh chilies. But I would like to have chilies with me.
Wow, okay. So that's your survival spice. How
Yes.
interesting. It's very lovely that you said that. Wouldn't you get more thirsty?
Chilies?
Yeah.
No way.
Really?
Chili is supposed to actually make you feel cool, because it cools you from inside.
Yeah, that's the thing about food, I noticed this, like coconut water is cooling,
Yes.
but coconut milk is heaty.
ECT, that's right. Yeah.
It's, yeah.
I
but we're
defy
not,
that.
Yeah.
we're not talking.
We're not experts.
Yeah. I know. We're not talking about those food details, okay? All right. Let's move on to about a funny teaching moment. Okay, maybe a mishap in class that made everyone laugh.
Okay, this is me. I mean, this was me when I was 28 years old when I first started teaching cooking. Since I was not formally trained, whatever cooking stuff that I learned was from my mother. And my mother, of course, learned from my grandmother. And they all had a very simple way of doing things. And since I observed them, I thought, okay, I am a great cook as well. So once I actually taught how to make agar-agar. So, and this agar-agar is in small molds. So I've seen my mother, she'll put all the molds out, and then once the agar-agar has boiled, she will ladle one ladle at a time into each individual molds. And I did that as well. And then there was about 28 ladies in the class all looking at me like, she's some kind of dumb or what, something like that. And I still didn't understand why some people are getting very irritated. I can see their face. And then one person got up. She came forward and she said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Sure." Then she just turned around, took a measuring jug with a spout at the end. She poured all the agar-agar inside. And now all she did is just pour like that. So simple without spilling and all that. And I was just ladling, bringing it out, and then I was spilling it everywhere, which taught me that I'm not the smartest teacher. I need to learn from people.
No, Devagi, even this story that you shared, it's for anybody, any learners
Yeah.
for that matter. We always forget that, not that we forget, we must remember that there will be mishaps.
Yep.
Yeah.
There will be mistakes. We are not perfect the first time.
Yes.
And we should laugh at ourselves and be quite comfortable laughing at mishaps
And
like
I also
that.
learned over the years that in food and in cooking techniques, there's evolution. So,
Yes,
like
yes.
for my mother's time, and there was no beaker, and there's no
of course.
measuring jug, they were just using ladle. And during my time, there was measuring jugs and everything. I could have just used it, but I just followed blindly what my mother did. But yes, this was something that I learned. And over the years, I've corrected my ways, and I've corrected a lot of things that I've learned from the past to be current.
Again, another teaching moment here. That's what we do, right? Whenever we learn something new, we realize, okay, the last time I did this, and this is, I think, the important point about review. Remember,
Yeah.
we have spoken about review in all our episodes so far. And I think you've just mentioned the same thing. You know, you sort of learn from a mistake you've made.
Yes.
And then that's why it's for any type of learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do that as well.
Let's start at the core. Okay. What's the hardest part of teaching cooking to beginners?
Okay, the hardest part for me, from my point of view, to teach cooking was first to assess the other person, how much this person knows about cooking and how much of exposure this person had in the kitchen. Because without knowing that, I can't assume that they will know how to turn on the stove to medium or high, or like what is boiling point and all that. They will not know. And if they don't know, and I cannot assume that they know, and I just keep teaching, because somewhere along the line, they will be standing there puzzled. What is boiling point? What is lowering the heat? So a lot of times I usually ask them or assess them like, this is a working person. She probably would have learned a bit from her mother or something like that. And then during the class, I usually ask, how many of you have never cooked before?
All the hands up,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's very important so that I will go according to their style. I've also taught a whole class of people who are visually impaired, and the whole class. And I did a lot of mistake the first time. It was a voluntary work that I did, and the first round, and I did a mistake. I assume everybody can see, so I said, you cut it into this size, and everybody just look at me blankly, and I'm like, why is there no response? And then I realized, oh my God, I forgot that they can't see.
Yeah.
So then I had to change. Everything was all language that I had to use.
Yeah, but you adapted, and
Yes,
that's great.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And I like what you shared, Devagi, because I think that a lot of people, when they start learning anything, a language or how to be confident, they actually forget that they have to start from the basics. So we also do the same thing. We cannot say, oh yes, overnight you'll become confident, or you become, can speak English very fast or very effectively. So that assessment part I like. I think we do the same thing at Dare to Speak Academy. Every learner, we do like a consultation. We talk to them. We find out what level they are at, and then set goals and targets.
Yeah.
So I think that's how, I think we do with every
about same,
learning, right?
Yeah.
So for your cooking, it's the same.
Same, yes.
Yes.
All right, you know what? Cooking has so many techniques, right? How do you simplify something like tempering spices or kneading dough without losing the richness?
Tempering spice is something I grew up with. Of course, the word tempering itself is like foreign to a lot of non-Indians.
Yes.
So I usually explain to them very simply: temper, hot-tempered, mild-tempered person, and all that. So why people temper the spices is because each spice has got its own character, and you need to bring the character out in the oil, and that's basically what tempering is all about. So I explain to them with sounds. Like, for example, if you put in mustard, the mustard will pop. So it will, one sound will come. When you put in, say, curry leaves, because it is a little bit wet, so it don't make psh, like that. So there's a lot of sounds, and I like to be a bit dramatic. I'm a bit overly dramatic, actually, but I love it.
Well, it's good.
I love it too.
For someone who cooks, you have to be dramatic, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, we do say that we go off topic, right? Okay, like based on this, for example, we've always been taught, like from our mothers and all that when they cook, they don't really use a measuring cup. Everything is through like I'm losing the word, but it's agar-ation. It's like agar, right?
Yeah.
It's like roughly this amount of salt, roughly this amount of curry powder, this amount of like all the spices, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you have to teach.
Yeah. So that's where you measure a good teacher. That's where you measure a good author of a cookbook.
Yes.
Because you can't just do these estimates, right? Because when I say a handful of chilies, like how my mother taught me, she already knew how much she wanted, and she would have just hold her hand tight, her fist tight, or loosen it so that she'll have more. So it's going to be difficult if I'm going to tell someone. I mean, I remember those days recipes used to have like thumb size
Really?
ginger. What's a thumb size? I mean, different thumb size.
Different thumb size.
Correct. So then that's how when I first started teaching, I think I became a successful, I call myself, I'm very proud, successful culinary educator because I could sense that the other person may not have the same thumb size as me or the dried chilies, for example, if I say fist size, it can be a person with a very small hand or it could be a person with a big hand. So I started weighing all the ingredients first, writing them down so that people will go back and measure it and then do. So when you start learning cooking by measuring systematically, right? After some time, let's say you're doing these recipes, say once or twice, you will definitely not going to take out the measuring scale anymore because you already know roughly how much you need. So that's about it, cooking. You learn the system first, and then after that you learn how to adapt the recipes according to your family's, how spicy they want or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, and I think that's what learning is also all about.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned earlier, you can't be perfect the first time, but the adjustments you make only when you know the basics very well.
Correct.
So knowing the measurements, the right kind of ingredients, the initial part, of course, you have to listen, right? And they have to follow. I'm sure you're quite strict when you tell them to keep to the proportions that you have suggested.
Yeah. At this juncture, I like to add on, there's a lot of people who buy cookery books and then they will, or even they listen to recipes from TikTok or Instagram, and then they'll say, I've tried a recipe, but they will never try it to the dot from the other person's recipe. They will just think that, okay, I think I roughly know, and then the recipe may not turn out well, and then they will blame the other person for putting out fake recipes.
Really?
Okay.
That's actually really, really not fair because you must try the recipe to the way the author or writer writes about it, and then if it fails, you make your comment.
Yes, no shortcuts.
Yes,
right?
right.
Yes, until you become very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
become very good. Then, of course, you can adapt and you
Yes.
can modify and have
Correct.
your own style. Yeah, great. Yeah.
I adapted all my mother's recipes.
Yes, I know, yeah. As the founder of Dare to Speak Academy, I've seen how powerful it is when young people find their voice. That's why I've created these programs to transform their public speaking and confidence in just 8 weeks. For ages 8 to 10, our conversation champions. For ages 11 to 15, the Speak Up Squad. And for ages 16 to 20, the Step Up Launchpad. All our courses come with a money-back guarantee if your child does not achieve the intended outcomes. Click the link below to find out more about these programs.
All right. So, when do you start having an interest in cooking, and when do you discover that now I have my own way of doing things? I don't really need to follow a recipe to the T. I already have it at the back of my head.
Yeah,
And then you realize that.
when did it all
I
start?
still use recipes.
Oh, okay.
You still,
Because I still have to use recipes when I teach.
But when
Because the students are looking at me and I want them to follow me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No changes in the framework, right?
Yeah.
We say that, right? You have certain frameworks, you stick to the
Yes.
frameworks. That's definitely very good. But maybe you want to share. I'm intrigued. Generally,
I'll tell you. I'll just tell and then you see it there.
Yeah.
I love food since I was very young, and I did not like what my mother cooked. I like what other people were eating from other families. I looked at, say, my neighbors, Chinese neighbors had very colorful vegetables, whereas my mother would cook some vegetable that's the same but a bit mushy. Maybe the color would have changed. And I always used to wonder, why is it that my mother cooked it differently? But yes, I love what my mother cooked. I've never tasted that stir-fried vegetables when I was very young. I never eaten Chinese food. So a lot of other people's cuisine intrigued me. And then pictures of food that appeared in magazines also excited me a lot. And then I realized that I always wanted to eat not anything that my mother cooked, eat only anything that anyone else have.
Okay.
Why?
Wow.
Poor mom.
And then my mother will try her best to please me by learning from my Malay neighbors, learning from the Indian neighbors. And so my mother was very good in cooking sambals, rendang and all that because she learned for the sake of me and my
Giving you
siblings.
variety.
There's 7 of us in the family. So we had variety. So then that variety wasn't enough for me because I wanted to learn why sometimes my Malay neighbor would make a nice rendang that was so aromatic and my mother did not do exactly the same.
You were
Then I realized that
comparing.
my mother would have put curry leaves inside her rendang,
okay.
which changed the whole smell and
Yes,
makes
right
profile of the rendang.
ingredients to get the right results. Yes,
Correct.
perfect.
So then
yeah.
all these were in my head when I was growing up. And then my father occasionally scolding my mom, saying that the dish is very salty today. Last week, their curry was very nice. And then I was used to wonder, my mother is so smart. Why is it that my father is always running after her about the salt level or the thinness or the thickness? And all these things were something that was running in my mind. And I realized one thing. There was no consistency in my mother's cooking.
Wow.
Okay, she cooked. She was a very good cook, but she was an aga cook.
And I would like to say that's the difference between a cook and a chef.
Yes.
Yes.
And Devagi here is a chef.
Yes.
And she shared so much of her knowledge. You know, I've also attended her class.
Oh, you have?
Yes,
Wow.
several of her classes. And I'm always sitting in front and ever eager beaver learner because I've told her I can cook, but not many dishes. And one thing I appreciated because I find that when we talk about learning, when we talk about teaching, I think it's nice if we make it a little sensory because then it becomes vivid.
Yes.
Yeah, it becomes vivid and it's a lot more enjoyable and nice for people to, understand what you are saying.
Definitely.
Yeah?
I always feel that when it comes to teaching, the teachers that I remember from my school days, one was a literature teacher.
Was she good?
She was always animated. She was jumping in the class.
Then not so bad. Huh?
And I have so much of memories of her. And I loved her and her subject, literature, which was for me a storytelling.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
became a storyteller.
Yeah.
So my hands are always moving. I'm always making funny faces. I don't care how you look at my face when I'm making jokes, but I enjoy it.
And storytelling is something that another thing that we've always talked about.
Yep, we have.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on.
Yes.
Was there ever a time your lesson didn't land?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
what do you do to turn it around?
Yes. Okay, so I would not say lesson. Okay, this is an incident related to food as well, right?
Okay.
My nephew, who thinks very highly of me as a celebrity chef, told me that they are going to have auction in their school to raise some funds. So he asked me if I can do a cake because the teacher wanted to sell the cake for $50. Okay. So I said, okay, but he gave me very little time. That means 2 days before, and then I did not have enough time to shop. So I just did a very simple butter cake with my intention is to do some icing on top, and that's about it. So, and because I want it to be fresh, and he was going to collect it at 6 a.m. before he goes to morning, right? So I did it around 11 p.m. So I let the cake cool, right? But when I took it from the oven, right, I dropped it.
Oh.
I dropped the cake and it broke. It just broke, okay? I mean, there was just like 2 pieces with lots of broken pieces. And I was so shocked. So the first thing I did was, of course, pick up the cake neatly. And then I went to my fridge to see whether I have enough butter. Okay, I did not have enough butter. I did not have enough eggs, but I had everything else. But this was not enough for me to make the cake that my nephew thought I'm going to give. And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do a lot of just didn't know what to do. It was just shameful to the core, like so embarrassing. And then I went to the internet. And, sometimes when you turn on the internet, they have this, what do you call it, screensaver or something? Like different pictures will come. And there was a picture of the Grand Canyon there. And then I was thinking, this looks like my broken cake. Yes. So what I did, I went back, took the cake again, and then I put in a flat board. I joined it here and there, and then the top was all broken. So I put a bit of icing here, and then I leave a bit of space uniced. And then I asked myself, okay, this looks a bit like the canyon. Then I did a small cut and say, the Grand Canyon butter cake.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
Then-
this is amazing.
And I went to sleep very peacefully, very happily. Next morning, my nephew and his father came, and then I handed the cake, and he said, I asked you to make butter cake. Why you make Grand Canyon? I say, look at it. I made for you such a grand cake for you, And I don't think your teacher can sell it for $50. At least $100.
Wow.
Wow.
And guess what? They sold it for 120.
Is it?
Wow, well done, you see.
And that's about being persuasive.
Yeah.
I think we've just learned a lesson about how you can be persuasive and convincing, and you convince your nephew.
Yes. And think on the spot what to do, not cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct, exactly. I think being adaptable is very, very important as well.
Yeah.
What you did was you made the best of a terrible situation, and then upsold it as well.
I must thank the Grand Canyon picture.
Yeah, but I think this comes when, because can't imagine someone who has got no experience at all being able to do
correct.
So your years of experience,
Yeah.
and your
And the
observance
never
as well.
say die attitude.
Yeah, and I think these are all very good qualities, and I've always stressed on them to say that it doesn't matter when we make mistakes.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It's not even a mistake. It became a Grand Canyon. And a Grand Canyon is really grand for $120. Whoa.
Think back to a time where you taught a beginner something tricky. You thought that this beginner would know exactly what they're doing, and then something other than that happened.
Yes, definitely. I have many moments like that, but the most memorable one left me with scars like this on my hand.
Oh.
Okay, so what happened was there's this lady in her 50s who wanted to learn, there's a one-to-one cooking class. She wanted to learn just 5 dishes so that she can host a party in her house with those 5 dishes.
She should have just engaged you.
Yeah.
So then one of the dish was stuffed squids.
Okay.
It's a Peranakan dish, but this is a deep fried one. So I taught her how to do it. So she was stuffing it and everything was nice. Then I prepared the oil for it to be fried. And then I told her, because I'm standing on the side, right? So it's a one-to-one class. Then I told her, gently lower it into the oil. And then she said yes. Then I show her like that, because there was only 4 pieces. So I didn't want to hold that myself so that she'll have more experience doing it, right? So I said gently lower it. And then I told her, you're doing it gently because you don't want the oil to splash.
Yeah.
Then she said, yeah, sure. And she added on one point, and it's also wet, right? I say precisely. And then she plucked it.
You.
Oh.
And the oil just splashed, and I was standing on her side, and the scars was burning like crazy,
Oh.
Yeah, and she didn't know what to do, and both of us forgot to turn off the stove because we were concentrating on the hands, so the sweets were burnt, so it was a disaster.
Yeah. So what did you gather from
this?
Yes.
Yeah, I did not teach her properly.
No.
I should have emphasized. Yeah, she knew that it was wet, but I should have also emphasized. Right, it's wet, and when you put something wet into oil, it will splash. And squids that have already been stuffed is very heavy.
Yes.
So you can't just drop it.
Yeah.
I keep on emphasizing gently lower it. And maybe I didn't use the correct word.
No, but I think for her was a beginner mistake.
Yes,
right?
correct.
And after a while, you start cooking, you will realize that these are the methods of dealing with oil. A hot grill or whatever. Not that. So I wouldn't say that you didn't teach her. I just think that I think I would say that stuffed squid was a very advanced dish for a beginner.
Yes. No, but remember she wanted to learn the fire dishes so that she could host. So my own comment about that was that you should have just told her, I will come and cook. Because she's a beginner. I mean, of course, we can't do that for all learners. We can't tell them, okay, I will come and present for you. I will do the pitch for you. But
But we ended up being very good friends. Every time we go out somewhere, she will stroke my hand.
Oh, so sweet. But you also learn that cooking, I mean, even though it's just teaching about the dish, getting the ingredients right and all that, the safety aspects also,
very important, yes.
and then that helps them to also be calm.
Yes,
Right, or
definitely.
else, they get anxious. They say, "Oh, I'm dealing with fire," and sometimes you don't have to say it, but they will be anxious, right? Oh, There are people who, I remember, I think myself included, when I was very young, I'm very afraid to fry things. So I'll stand very fine, and so
Yeah.
You also do the throwing thing, huh?
and then sometimes use the ladle very long and then put it in, and then when it splatters, run out, especially mustard seeds,
Oh, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
run. So it's teaching and ensuring that you teach, and it's a complete kind of
Yes,
teaching.
correct.
It's not just teaching
Yes.
one aspect. So for learners, I do the same thing. Because a lot of them have the content, which is
Yeah.
like your ingredients and the recipe.
Yes.
But there's the additional thing, which is the mental preparation. How to stay calm,
Yes.
how to be in control. Because these are important things when you are speaking before others, especially when you're speaking and you're trying to make a point. So the aspect about being convincing
Yes.
and all the stories that we shared, I think all that comes to, full meaning. It has full meaning here.
All right, so before we move on to your full method of teaching, and let's decode it a little bit, okay? Because we want to give the viewers a little bit of a glimpse of how you teach and what are the examples you use
Okay.
to get your message across.
So I believe that when I'm teaching, not only when teaching, when eating and everything, you need to use all your five senses, lah.
Yes, yes.
But in teaching is very important because, especially when the students are there, standing next to me or sitting in the class, then they actually get to smell the food
Yeah.
while I'm cooking it, and I can say, okay, you fry it until now it's raw, so it has got this smell. Now we are dry roasting it, so there's the raw smell is gone. So now you have a new roasted smell here. So this is enough. Or like things like, look at this, the color have changed one shade darker. So this is enough. So this one shade darker, if I just do it in a book, they will not be able
Yeah,
to
they will not-
understand,
yeah.
right?
Yes,
But when they attend a class, they actually understand what is this one shade darker, because I have two things to show, right? This is the original, this one shade darker. And for example, let's say Dipali just finished, so I talk about muruku.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you want to do a muruku, you need to have like the white gram flour and all that. You need to roast it to get rid of the raw smell.
Yeah.
You need to roast it so that your stomach won't have bloatedness when you are cooking it and eating it very often. So you need to dry roast it until the color turns, so the aroma changes from the raw bean smell to a cooked bean smell, because muruku cooks very fast. So the rawness will only go off if you do it one stage before
Yeah.
and one stage later. So after that, visually what you will have to see is me pressing out the muruku shape
yeah.
onto the oil. The other important thing when you're actually observing in cooking, right now, at first the whole pan will have a lot of bubbles and a lot of seasonings on. As the moisture in the puff or in the muruku is drying off because of frying, there'll be less and less bubbles, and this is the time for you to take it out. It's ready. So visually, you know this is ready because you're looking at the bubbles, and the color of the muruku would have changed from white to golden brown. Like my mother can stand somewhere far away, or rather now even I do that, far away, and someone else, if they are frying, and then I'll just say, go check on the muruku, I think it's already fried. Because the sizzling
Because
sound
the
would have
sizzling
gone.
sound has gone. This sort of brings us to the skill that, we sort of identified for our theme today. And then it is the spice, where you make the description a little vivid. The instruction is very simple. So in a way, it sounds simple, and whatever the steps is.
Steps, okay. Yeah.
So maybe that sort of lends us very nicely to what Naveen is going to ask you, right? Yeah.
Okay,
In
so
a way,
it's time for structure spotlight, okay? Chef, let's take a little tricky one, okay? Tempering spices, could you teach it to a total beginner using your sense simple step method?
Okay, I'm going to teach you how to temper spices for a vegetable sambar. Sambar is a vegetable curry, right? So it's very aromatic. So I'm choosing this dish. So for sambar, the most important thing is you need a good oil. Or if you want to make it very extra fragrant, you use ghee. Okay, you heat ghee and then you add in mustard seeds first.
Okay.
And the mustard seeds must pop. That means it pop until the popping subsides. Then you add in the next spice. Now the next spice must be something like cumin, or it can be fennel. But between the cumin and the fennel, which is heavier? The heavier one would be fennel. So you can add in the fennel first, because if you put a light spice, it floats and it fries so fast, so it gets burnt.
correct.
So you add the fennel first, and then you sizzle a little bit, then you add in the cumin. The next one would be the adding of the onion slices. So again, onion slices have got a lot of water content, but you need to fry this until it's golden brown, so they imparts a kind of a sweetness, and its brownness can also add color to the dish as well. So add in the onions and it will sizzle. Now there are some people for other cuisines, right, like Malay cuisine, they would like to add a bit of salt to the onion. They say it will cook faster and all that. Now in Indian cooking, you don't look for fast cooking. You do it slowly, nicely over low fire until it's brown, and then you smell everywhere. And once you're cooking onion, you need to keep stirring it, because sometimes when you cut an onion slice too thin and some is too fat or thick slices, right? The thin ones will go to the sides and they'll get burnt faster,
Yes.
and hence you need to keep stirring. Then you add in your curry leaves. You don't add the curry leaves first. You add in the curry leaves last, so that they just do this splattering sound. It's enough. You don't need to fry it too much, because once this tempering is done, you're going to transfer this whole wok or ladle full of this tempered stuff into your boiling dal. And the correct way would be, as soon as you pour it into the boiling dal, you put a cover over it and cover. You
I
cover
don't know.
and you contain the smell inside.
I see.
That's tempering.
Wow, fantastic.
So you are a beginner. Did you learn?
Yeah, I mean,
Was the instruction
yeah,
simple?
very clear.
Yeah. So you see, Devagi had used the 3 steps.
3 steps, yeah.
Very, very well. And in fact, went into details also, gave us the whole works. It was just one instruction. But you had given
I'm
us.
So to,
yeah,
to my
very
to my
good.
helper at home who makes my dal, this is how I want it next time, okay?
Yeah.
All right,
That's
thank you
great.
so much.
Yeah.
Wow, I learned a very interesting method.
Yeah.
Because I think you have tried food from all different
Yeah.
aspects of. You have tried Chinese
Yeah.
food and Malay food, and then of course there's key differences between
Yeah,
North
yeah.
Indian and South Indian food,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I've never seen the covering method before.
That
Because
is supposed to be.
Mom doesn't cover. yeah. Yeah,
Neither
so-
do I. But I've learned something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Because you must remember that when you are pouring hot sizzling oil into a boiling liquid, there will be double sizzling
Yes.
sound, right? And there will be a lot of popping of
Yeah.
steam. So you need to cover it to contain the
the
steaming.
aroma, is it? Yeah.
This is outside of the cooking and kitchen arena. We are essentially saying that for learning, it's the same. You need to just work on the sensory aspect. And when you do work on the sensory aspect, you will also make it very vivid and colorful. And that's where you find that whatever you're saying, I always feel this importance about vivid language, vivid use of communication, how we communicate and all that. It engages you, and it engages you emotionally with your audience or with whoever you're speaking to.
Okay. And you know what? With that said, it's time for Founders Corner.
At Dare to Speak Academy, we need to stage the ingredients before we cook the talk. By this, we do all this so that the person is able to be calm and in a control position. And there's preparation, of course. And the preparation is not slides. It's sensory. We get them to prepare, make sure that there is enough vivid language. There's a lot of convincing, persuasive elements. And with that, they are able to use this balance that they have in terms of the language, in terms of them being prepared, and they are able to achieve what they set out to achieve, which is to make that presentation or to make that pitch or to bring the information to, let's say it's a meeting and they need to convince the members at the meeting so they can use that effectively.
Wow, fantastic. Okay. And you know what? Let's move on to something very interesting. We love this round.
Yes.
It's called Rapid Fire. Okay. Why you seem so...
I'm not sure that I can speak with one word.
No, it's not one word. It's not.
It's as quick as possible.
quick as possible.
Yeah.
I get
Quick fire round, first thought, no overthinking. Favorite spice to teach with?
Chilies.
Most misunderstood cooking step?
Stir frying.
Funniest student mistakes you've ever seen?
Someone asking me the brand of matchy stick that I use.
Wow.
Oh, so loud.
Okay. Teaching in one word.
It's inspiring.
If taste were a language, what's one word that's universal?
Yummy.
I knew she was going to say that. I don't know why. I just had a feeling, right? Okay. Yeah. Chef, before we close, give us your one-liner. Okay, the line you want every teacher or communicator to carry with them.
I mean, don't assume that everyone knows what you're trying to say, because there are people who don't know and they may only show it on their expression on their face sometimes. You got to have an eye contact with them. You will know whether they understood or they don't understand, because just a slight nod of head, you will know this person understood what you're saying. I think it's so important. Even when you are on the stage speaking to thousands of people,
Yes.
you can see who understood.
Understood you.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes,
who
true.
did not.
Yeah.
And you can just catch their glance and teach them, and they will appreciate you for that.
So this is where you are in tune, right? You read the room,
Yes.
right? You read the
Yeah.
room. You are aware of who you are speaking
Yes.
to, and you are adjusting and you are adapting.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, don't just say, I have this template, I'm just going to follow
Yes,
this
cannot.
template. It's supposed to be one size fits all.
No.
And I think learning is not. And what you have just
Yes,
shared,
yeah.
exactly shares my own sentiments. And I think everybody here, we need to make sure we know what exactly is the need of
the
the
other person, yeah.
And that's we always start there. What is the need of the person? And from there, we find what are the ways that we can help match those
Yes.
needs or exceed. Okay? And that's what we
Yeah.
do. Thanks, Devagi, for sharing this. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Your Dare.
Okay. So,
And who better to tell us about Your Dare than Sushila?
yes, it's your dare. This week, take any instruction you normally give, whether in class, in kitchen, or even at home. Rewrite it using sense, simple step. You saw how Chef Devagi did it, so do the same way. Deliver it out loud once, okay? Make it vivid, keep it plain, and end with the clear action, which is what we are aiming for. Good luck with your dare.
Okay, so, we're coming to the end of the show right now, okay? And like I said, we do to go off script a little bit. And sometimes it's the most cruel question you can ask someone in their profession. And for a chef, I'm going to ask you that cruel question.
Oh my God, what's that?
Favorite cuisine?
What's your favorite cuisine?
My favorite cuisine? Difficult.
It's okay.
I have my moods.
Oh, okay.
And I have cravings at different times of the day and think to eat different food. So I don't have favorite cuisine. What I like is wholesome food
Okay.
that will just nourish me. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I understand that part as well.
Yeah.
Okay? I think it's also because we are so Singaporean.
Yeah, we have
And
so
we
much.
have so much
Yes.
of choices.
Yes, we are spoiled.
We
for
are spoiled.
choices.
We are
Yeah.
spoiled because if you stay in Europe or you stay in a certain part of the
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
that's the only food they
Yeah,
have, right?
true,
And if you want to try something out of the box, it's going to be ridiculously
Yeah.
expensive. But for us, we have so many different types of food in
Yes.
Singapore, right? Which is very affordable. Right where we are, opposite has an amazing hawker center.
Oh yes, we always talk about that.
We
Yeah,
always
the
go
last
there.
one we must do. Before
yeah.
we end, I just want to say good luck with the
Thank
book
you.
that you're going to publish.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to it because I think that's one aspect of Devagi's many talents.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so good luck with that, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And you know what? It's been a pleasure having you, ladies and gentlemen. Chef Devagi right here, one of our fantastic guests for our Speak Out and Stand Out show. And of course, my co-host, Susila. It's always been a pleasure having you, and
You too, Naveen.
Yes.
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, you need to speak up and stand out. And To do that, just look out for Dare to Speak Academy. They call me Navin the Iceman. See you soon.